Ricky Winterborn and Konsuka. Oh, whatever.
1080 Snowboarding, a little-known release game that was released for the Nintendo 64 in 1998, and I know what you're thinking. Why do you care about a game when there's so many other better games out there like Super Mario Galaxy or Halo or Call of Duty? This isn't like other snowboarding games, oh no. This had something special, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about if you've ever played this game before. 1080 Snowboarding is possibly my favorite game on the Nintendo 64, which doesn't seem like much when you're only comparing it to this, and this, and this. Who would even make this so horrible?
1080 Snowboarding was incredibly realistic for its time. The graphics were all fancy and interesting to look at. Some of the fun of just playing the game was getting to check out the environment around you as you progress through the level. It was actually praised as one of the best-selling and graphically appealing games on the Nintendo 64. The type of scenery that you see makes the game feel more realistic, which is actually complemented by the gameplay. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely sucked at this game for months, and that wasn't the game's fault. The controls are quite precise, and me being only 6 when I got this game required a lot of skill in order to perfect them perfectly. Like, for example, in the main single-player game when you start off a match, you're required to get from the top of the hill to the goalpost at the bottom of the hill. When the announcer says go, you can actually push your control stick forward in order to give you a boost at the start of the match, giving you an advantage over your opponent. Even more so, if you hold down A while you're snowboarding, your character will actually prepare for a jump. This will limit your turning ability, but will allow you to go faster. Also, when you jump from ledges or from high places, you have to position yourself correctly in order to land the jump. If you land it perfectly, you maintain momentum, but if you stumble, you lose speed, and if you crash, you lose speed and health. The health is basically like a penalty and requires you to not only be fast at the game, but also wary of obstacles and jumps. And while it doesn't seem all that difficult to execute some of these tricks, for someone just starting out, combined with having to turn, maintain speed, be wary of obstacles, and be wary of your opponent, it can be a bit overwhelming and can require a lot of playtime before getting it all down pat.
So this is what made the game feel so realistic. The look, the controls, and the gameplay are all what would happen if you actually went snowboarding. And if you pick up enough speed, then you can't turn as fast. And if you jump from a high place and don't position yourself properly, chances are you're probably going to fall.
See, this is something I like to call realistic implementation. It's where certain elements of a game are implemented from realistic scenarios. A game like Forza 5 is a good example of realistic implementation because the cars handle as if they would in the real world. Bad examples might include infinite ammo clips in guns and inaccurate health and stamina bars.
The 1080 Snowboarding had a lot more to offer than just a good single-player campaign. It also had Trick Attack.
Just like many other sport-related games, 1080 Snowboarding had its own trick system. You could use them in single-player, but they were more for show than anything. Instead, a separate mode called Trick Attack was implemented where you could score points by using different combos to do tricks. This was cool as it offered a different element of gameplay other than racing that you could do to test your own abilities. Other modes included Time Attack, in which you could see how quickly you could get through a course. There was also Training, in which you had an infinite amount of time to test your skills on a halfpipe. You can check out the list of combos and even listen to the most horrifically catchy music I've ever heard in any sports game in my entire life. Actually, speaking of, this game had some pretty great music, which made it even more memorable. Some of the music actually made it into Super Smash Bros. On the Wii and Wii U. One last thing that made this game even more playable was its multiplayer mode. I played this quite a lot with my family and friends because it's not so much competitive as it is just relaxing. It's not like when you play Mario Party and the competition is so intense you almost want to strangle your opponent with a controller cord. It's a lot more relaxing and enjoyable. The only downside was that due to the extra play, the environmental effects had to be decreased, so the scenery isn't as great, but it's forgivable for a Nintendo 64 game.
Well, that's basically it for 1080 Snowboarding. There's not much really else to say about it, other than it was a fantastic game and it still holds up even today. And look, if you don't own a Nintendo 64 and you do want to give it a go, they released it on the virtual consoles for the newer Nintendo system, so jump on and just give it a try.
But wait, what's that?
Fuck, god damn. I almost forgot about this one. Nintendo actually made a sequel for 1080 Snowboarding on the Nintendo 64 for the Nintendo GameCube, and it was called 1080 Avalanche. And it's actually a really good game.
While it didn't do quite as well as its predecessor, 1080 Avalanche still did really well in its own right. It focused a lot more around speed and the courses themselves rather than tricks or time attack. However, tricks did help you in boosting a new feature in the game called Power Meter, which gave you a huge burst of speed when you activated it. This could help you when you crashed or if you were behind an opponent. It was also possible to hit your opponents by riding into them, causing them to fall down. The developers of the game had mentioned that they wanted the game to have more of a
extreme
feel to it. So they added in avalanches in some of the courses that could end the race if the player was caught in them, thus putting more focus on speed.
1080 Avalanche was actually meant to be released alongside with 1080 Snowboarding on the Nintendo 64, but Nintendo felt that its actual gameplay was more suited for the GameCube. It gave other companies who were making snowboarding games on the GameCube more of a chance to release their games first. One of them being was SSX3, which was actually regarded by players and game critics as a higher and overall better game than 1080 Avalanche. I personally don't see it. Honestly, how can you look past some of the fantastic features and characters that 1080 Avalanche offers, like Ricky Winterborn or Rob Haywood or Akiri Hiyami and Panda?
Hey there, and thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm still trying to work out a formula for how these videos go, so forgive me if they're not all the same kind. I do hope you get informed about the kind of games I talk about and get excited to play them, because they are really good games. If you feel I could do anything better, please leave me a comment, and if you liked the video, please like and subscribe to our channel via the link here. Oh, also you can check out our previous video at this link here. Now that was really all I had to say, so I'm just going to sit here for the next 10 seconds and let you listen to the music. Alright, catch you next time.